The sterile white corridors of Research Station Omega-7 hummed with the cold efficiency that characterized all Zephrian facilities. Dr. Keksto adjusted his neural interface as he reviewed the data streaming across his multifaceted vision. Subject 2847H had been their most promising specimen, a human infant, barely 6 months old when acquired from the failed colony ship New Horizon. The Zephrians prided themselves on their scientific advancement. Their crystalline bodies could process information at speeds that made most organic species seem glacially slow. They had conquered 14 star systems through superior technology and cold logic. Emotions were weaknesses they had evolved beyond millennia ago. The subject's neural pathways have adapted beyond our projections, Keksto reported to the High Researcher. The cognitive enhancement serums have triggered unprecedented synaptic growth. However, the psychological trauma appears to be extensive. The infant, now 3 years old after months of accelerated growth treatments, sat in the corner of his containment cell. His once bright blue eyes had become distant, unfocused. The various tubes and monitoring devices attached to his small frame made him look more machine than child. The experiments had pushed his developing mind far beyond normal human capacity, but at a terrible cost. The subject's usefulness has reached its limit, the High Researcher's voice echoed through the chamber. Neural degradation is beginning. Dispose of it with the other failed specimens. Keksto felt something strange and unfamiliar sensation that his species had long forgotten. Was it regret? He quickly suppressed the anomalous thought pattern and prepared the disposal protocols. The child was loaded onto a waste transport bound for Kepler 442b, a barren world used as a dumping ground for failed experiments. As the ship's automated systems ejected the containment pod onto the planet's surface, none of the Zephrians gave the human another thought. Subject 2847H was just another failed project in their endless pursuit of scientific advancement. The pod crashed in a desolate canyon, its emergency beacon flashing weakly against the alien sunset. Inside, the child lay unconscious, his enhanced mind struggling to process the trauma of abandonment. The Zephrian modifications had left him with abilities far beyond any normal human-enhanced pattern recognition, accelerated learning, and an almost supernatural awareness of his surroundings. But emotionally, he remained a terrified 3-year-old. For days, he survived on the pod's emergency rations, too afraid to venture outside. His enhanced intellect told him he was alone on an alien world, while his child's heart simply wanted his parents' he could barely remember from before the experiments began. It was on the 5th day that they found him. The first sign was the shadow passing overhead, massive, impossibly graceful. Then came the sound, a deep, resonant rumble that seemed to shake the very ground. The child looked up through the pod's cracked viewport to see something that shouldn't have existed. Dragons, not the mythical creatures from human folklore, but something far more magnificent. These beings were clearly ancient, their scales shifting between colors that had no names in any human language. Their eyes held intelligence that dwarfed even the Zephrian's cold logic. But unlike the aliens who had tortured him, these eyes also held something else: compassion. The largest dragon landed near the pod with surprising gentleness. When it spoke, the words formed directly in the child's enhanced mind, bypassing the need for vocal communication. Little one, you carry the scars of those who know science, but not wisdom. The child, who had forgotten his own name during the long months of experimentation, looked up at the magnificent creature with wonder replacing fear for the first time in years. We are the Draori, the first ones of this galaxy. We have watched the younger races stumble through their crude attempts at advancement for eons. Most disappointing are those who gain knowledge but lose their souls in the process. More dragons descended, forming a protective circle around the crashed pod. Their leader, ancient beyond measure, extended what could only be described as a sense of profound caring toward the damaged child. The crystal minds took you from your people, believing they could improve upon the design of your species. They succeeded in ways they will never understand, not through their crude modifications, but by revealing the true strength that lies within humanity. The child found his voice for the first time in months. I don't understand. You survived, little one. Despite their experiments, despite being discarded like refuse, despite being alone and afraid on an alien world, you survived. This is not weakness. This is the greatest strength in the universe. The dragons have been watching humanity since the species first looked up at the stars. They had seen civilizations rise and fall, had witnessed the birth and death of entire species. But humans were different. Where other species saw perfection through technology or evolution, humans found strength in their imperfections, their emotions, their stubborn refusal to surrender hope even in the darkest circumstances. The Zephrians believe they have evolved beyond emotion, beyond the mess sciences of organic feeling. They see this as advancement. We see it as death, the death of everything that makes existence worthwhile. Over the following months, the Draori became the child's guardians and teachers. They helped him heal from his trauma while also helping him understand and control the abilities the Zephrians have forced upon him. Unlike his former captors, the dragons never saw him as a test subject or a tool to be used. They taught him that his enhanced capabilities were not what made him valuable. His humanity was. His capacity for hope, for love, for refusing to break even under the worst circumstances. These were the traits that had caught the attention of beings who had existed since the galaxy was young. One day, you will return to your people, the eldest dragon told him during one of their lessons. You will carry with you not just the modifications those fools imposed upon you, but something far more powerful, the knowledge that humanity's greatest strength lies not in what they can become, but in what they refuse to stop being. Years passed. The child grew into a young man, his traumatic past transformed into wisdom and determination. He learned that the Draori had been humanity's silent guardians for millennia, occasionally guiding lost ships away from dangers, or inspiring breakthrough discoveries when the species needed them most. When the time finally came for him to leave Kepler 442b, he did so not as the broken subject the Zephrians had discarded, but as something new, a bridge between humanity and the ancient powers that watched over the galaxy. The Zephrians had tried to create a superior being through cold science and cruel experimentation. Instead, they had unknowingly forged something far more dangerous to their sterile worldview, a human who had experienced the worst they could offer and still chose hope over despair, compassion over logic, and love over efficiency. Subject 2847H was gone forever. In his place stood Marcus, a name the dragons had helped him remember from his earliest, happiest memories. And Marcus carried within him a message that would one day reach every corner of human space, that their greatest strength lay not in becoming something else, but in remaining proudly, defiantly, impossibly human. The stars awaited, and humanity's true guardians watched with ancient, approving eyes.